recently updated. Now, it states here that the 7th largest country in the world, Nigeria, has Africa's highest caseload of depression and ranks 15th in the world in the frequency of suicide, according to WHO. There are less than 150 psychiatrists in this country of 200 million. Now, very often when we get to read these stats, I tend to challenge them and say I take them with a pinch of salt. But if your memories are good, I'm talking about those of you who have been following this particular program in the past 2 years, couple of years, you will remember that back in 2021, early 2022, we had a team of psychiatrists flown from Lagos. They joined me in the studio, and at that time, the psychiatrist told me that there were less than 250 of them registered psychiatrists in the country. She was one of them. And then she was bemoaning that she is so worried that she doesn't know if by 2023 that the numbers will still be the same or even higher. That time. And we were all like, wow, what's going on? This is really serious. We have gynecologists, we have pediatricians, we have general surgeons, but psychiatrists, we don't seem to have a lot of them. And to make this even more interesting, there are lots of mental health issues. Now, the field of study, that is psychology and psychiatry, similarly, are interwoven. There are therapists these days who are coming, there are counselors these days who are coming through. But even with these numbers that are spiking, you still have a dearth of hands who will be able to listen, to proffer advice, and more importantly, to diagnose certain issues. This morning, we're talking about the two very worrisome eons, depressions and inflation. My name is Jude. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hello Port Harcourt. Nwogwugwu, who is a certified psychotherapist and ACES, that's Adverse Childhood Experiences Counselor. She's a child psychologist certified by the Public Health in the UK and the CTAA. She's the founder and lead psychotherapist at Talks with Esther Therapy, a mental health and wellness psychotherapy brand where they, change or try to change the narrative of the stigma associated with mental health. Now, when people say mental health, a lot of people go, you don't the crazy, you don't the mad. But I'm of the inclination that she's going to tell us it's actually beyond just that person the mad, that person the crazy. Esther, good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Martha, I say you look very well in the is that polka dots?
Yeah, polka dots.
Okay, polka dot. All right, so I'm not so bad.
Thank you.
All right. So welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
Now, you are a rare breed in the country, right? You are a psychotherapist. First things first, what is it when people say your mental health is not balanced? What does that mean? What's the mental health thing first?
Okay, thank you. So first, let me start by saying that everyone has a mental health, right? Like you have physical health, spiritual health, biological. So everyone has a mental health. And when we talk of mental health, it has to do with the state of mind of an individual, mental mind. So that's simply what it means. So when we say someone's mental health is not balanced, that means a part of them is suffering. That means in their mind, their emotions, they are going through some things that are affecting them, and they are probably not talking about it, So it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is, mad, like on the streets, roaming around, or they are insane. It just means that an aspect of them mentally, which could be as a result of some emotional issues, is actually, affected. Okay, so
now, if you remember, I don't know if you were in the country during the lockdown 2020.
Yes, please.
All right. So during that year, towards the end of that year, there were obvious spikes in suicide or attempted suicide cases in the country. we were recording, people jumping off. Like I think where it started from, where the media caught on was the very sad incident of the person who just got to the bridge, told the driver to stop the car, and the person got down from the car and just jumped.
Yeah.
From then on, it seems as though Lagosians were now on suicide watch, because when everybody will be driving on the bridge, everybody's looking out. If the car breaks down, is this person going to jump? Is this person going to jump? And there were a few attempts that were foiled, on the bridge from 2020 till date. Now, that inflation has bumped up. Everybody's complaining, and it doesn't seem too far off to have depression follow inflation.
Sure.
But we've heard of other countries who are experiencing the same thing. From the American end, I read more than 40% of Americans have admitted to depression in recent years. But you ask yourself this question: but those people, they apparently have it better than we are now. They have power 247.
Yeah.
They have hamburgers and turkey burgers. They have good roads. They don't have, a lot of policemen harassing them all over the place. Why are they depressed? How come they apparently are more depressed? I know we don't have the full stats for Nigeria as it is, but, why should they be depressed when we apparently have
more issues? Okay, thank you. I think, first of all, for those climbs, out there, sometimes most of the young people are susceptible to drug use, so, and that's one of the things that would usually cause depression, because when anyone uses drugs, dopamine, the happy hormone, is released, so the person wants to use more, and at the end of the day, it's just temporal satisfaction. So that's why most of the times you hear them say, oh, I'm depressed, and we feel, oh, these are little things, because they are already trained to look out for their mental health. So once there's any sign of sadness, they quickly go to look for help. Do you understand? So first of all, they already have a conditioning of their mind that anything that steals your joy, affects your peace, your satisfaction, you should not let it thrive, But in our Nigerian climb, it seems like there's an award for the one who has suffered most and longest. Do you understand? So we hear people say, my mom is so sick and down. I was still kind of have the negative experiences before sleep or proper sleep. And some of this, bubbling and hustling activities, your main person is, acting in a set way because there's someone ready to send your tool. So we prioritize mental health, right? For the least, as we waste the backload, or see some string of flow starting, need help,
Okay, all right. Now, what I think is very unknown people, because it's problem.
Yeah.
So that's usually streets in a state of undress, themselves. But mental health is not always lead people straight up their goals.
Of course.
Now I know you probably have people who have schizophrenia. Are those things prevalent here as well?
Yes, we do. Like you already established, which correct that not all mental health issues will lead to someone get treated. I think financial never established there's a difference between a mental health issue and a mental healthness. Mental health is that which requires the intervention psychiatrist, like the schizophrenia, psychosis, where the person is out of touch with reality, probably seeing people, seeing things, or talking to a table, talking to themselves. That's a mental health illness. You must need intervention of a psychiatrist, placed on drugs, and probably be placed under strict monitoring, like in a psychiatric hospital. Okay. Then mental health concerns are cases that we manage through therapy and drugs, like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, someone grieving, if someone. So these ones I might now talk about the prevalence of schizophrenia and some of the bipolar disorder. We have a lot of them in Nigeria. The problem is, do not go to a mental health facility or to a psychiatric hospital to get diagnosed. Then 2, sign of ignorance. See a relative who is acting a certain way, and like you established already, the first that comes to our mind is true. Oh, village people are calm. But
village people come.
They do.
I'm not saying. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's all village people, but
yes.
But I think for us here in this country, the problem is, so how do we if this is village people issue, or if this is actually a that need doctor to diagnose and obviously try to help?
I think this is important because most people would want to differentiate a spiritual attack and actually. So I think most times the spiritual attacks from the experiences we've had or stories we've heard, it usually comes suddenly. Like you have in med school, in law school, goes mad to that. The person doesn't use drug, no history of drug use or alcohol use or substance use. history at all, childhood, no brain point of birth. They just, go off that way.
What if the person saw something very traumatic? The person saw, a snake, no, I'm just saying.
Yes, I get. Now, when it comes to triggers that could lead to mental breakdowns, they all come in levels. For instance, someone cannot just see something scary for the first time and just go mental.
Okay.
They definitely respond to the shock. But it's not a case of just seeing this and then they go to the streets. It has to be that there were repetitions. They've been seeing that traumatic picture, or they've had that traumatic experience consistently. Now, mental health issues come as a result of consistency. Now, what do I mean by consistency? You have a relative that would always be at loggerheads with people, never at peace with people. Wherever they go, they must quarrel, they must fight, they must look for weapons, and we can trace their history from childhood to teenage age. This has happened consistently. That's a cause for alarm. It's not spiritual, because that's taking some process. Do you understand? Which, if people had discovered earlier, early intervention always helps. So that's what makes the difference. And let me give another instance. Let's say some of us have relatives that would not want to talk to anybody. They like to stay on their own.
Okay, wait, I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We'll be back after this break. All right. More coming.
Sharp guy like to watch Premier League.
The headline news, that's at 11:30. We'd like to get back to my guest this morning, psychotherapist Esther, this morning. And then you were talking just before we went on the break that yes, there's a difference between a mental health issue and a mental health illness. Okay, so now when after doing that, you made mention that look, there are triggers. If it's consistent, then it's a sign that something here is wrong. All right, as opposed to when there's a sudden attack and there's not been any history of any record of any such issue. Now, when that happens, right? Now you are a psychotherapist, right? Not a psychiatrist. You're a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Where do you usually come into the treatment of mental health issues?
Okay, so what we do is more of intervention, like offering psychotherapy sessions, whereby people who are going through anxiety, depression, they are still in their right frame of mind, but they are depressed. Probably they've gone through depression. Is more like prolonged sadness or sadness that you have no control over. Normally you can just feel sad and you just remember, I can't do anything about this, let me just let it go, and then you're up jumping around, but a depressed person has no
control over.
Yes, please.
That's for depression.
Yes, please.
Is that what they call clinically depressed?
Okay, at the point where it's clinical depression, you need to be placed on drugs, because sometimes, even for someone that's never experienced depression at all, we all know that we see the signs sometimes. You could discover that you notice that you're not motivated to go to work, you're not motivated to do the things you used to love doing, that's a sign that depression is knocking. Okay, you're not depressed yet, right? But probably there are circumstances making you feel that way. Probably you're not appreciated at work, or your family doesn't even appreciate the fact that you travel hours just to get to work. That can put you in that mood, right? But you also have control to say, well, I'm doing this because I love this job. I'm not listening to what anyone is saying, and then you get to work. Okay, but a person who is now clinically depressed, it's, let's call it an advanced form, and they'll be diagnosed with depression. No matter what anyone says, they would remain in that state. They may just even resign the job, or just unceremoniously leave the job.
Interesting.
So at that point, they would need to be placed on medications. That's why most companies are inclusive now. So they could even have employees that suffer depression. And how do they manage them is they understand, okay, when these signs come, such employees are not loaded with so much work, because work overload could also be a trigger. Do you understand? So basically, we help with therapy when those feelings start. At that stage where you're feeling, oh, I don't feel like going out, or I don't feel like talking to anyone, or I don't feel like resuming at my job, you need to speak with the therapist. Do you understand? So we intervene at that early stage when those signs are coming up. And then people who are going through panic attacks. Now, panic attacks could be triggered by some traumatic events a person has had. Probably they saw something that put them in shock, or they've had an experience. Imagine walking in on your partner cheating.
Ooh.
That can create a panic attack that would last, because the person didn't think of it. And imagine you've been vouching for this spouse and all that, you didn't just see it coming, and you saw, not just that you heard. That could throw someone into a panic attack. And a panic attack is judged by its consistency. So after some time, because of the memories of what this person has seen, they could have the fast heartbeats, shaky hands, sudden fever, rumbling tummy, severe headache or migraine, So these are the people we deal with. They have control to some extent of their sanity. Where the psychiatrist comes in is when these people have gone into a state of psychosis. Psychosis simply means that the persons now are out of touch with reality.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's where the psychiatrists come in, and then you see really violent cases and schizophrenia, where they are saying things, calling things, talking,
So all those guys that we see on the roads, that those are the people that actually need the psychiatrist at that point.
They do, but I think sometimes some of them, it could possibly be that they've actually been to the psychiatric hospital. They are not responding to treatment. So some may even escape, or the doctors, depending, could call on family members, let them know the reality. So it's more like, instead of spending so much and there's no recovery process, and this also most times is determined by the cause of madness at that stage, especially when it's a result of drugs.
Okay, all right. So when we come back, we get to hear more from my guest. Headline News right here, 92.3 Nigeria Info. All right, so there are a few things that may have led to, the people walking on the street, according to my guest this morning. And one of them, obviously, is, financial stress. Whenever people don't have money, as history has shown in the past, things tend to go awry, medically speaking, and also in this case we're talking about the mental health. So once again, this morning I'd like to reintroduce Esther Nwogwugwu, who is a certified psychotherapist, all right, and also an experienced educationist with special interest in special education needs. All right, now lots of things that you do working with children and all of that. Would like to now bring this home as we open the phone lines very shortly, Esther. This morning, how can the average Nigerian, the average Port Harcourt listener, manage their depression in this difficult time? You said earlier that people can get depressed, maybe heartbreak, or maybe they're not feeling appreciated at work, or something happened, But here right now, what Nigeria, what Ghanaians, what a lot of African countries are going through right now is inflation. All over the world is inflation, and so there's a general sense of either panic, anxiety, like you said. So what are some of the tips you could share before we open the phone lines for the listener?
Okay, so I think first thing to do is to come to terms with the reality, that there is inflation, financial flow and all of that may not be as it's used to for many people. Then the next thing is to have realistic budgets and plans. I don't think right now it would be wise to be in any competition of, I used to have this car, or I used to eat this kind of meal. How do I step down to this kind of meal? So realistic plans, realistic budgets, forget about any competition, and then protect your space. What do I mean? Now, if probably you used to mingle with the big boys, and probably the big boys are not affected by this inflation, you may need to, watch it, big deals that they are hitting in the light of encouraging you that there is intimidation. Then you may need to minimize such gatherings. You're going for a gathering where these people are going to spray, maybe in line with EFCC rules, they're going to spray in millions, and you probably do not have that. So why will you be there when you know that not just that they're going to spray on your behalf, they will make it obvious
that they have more than you.
That they have more than you.
But Esther, let me ask. See, in this narrative, and I think it's pretty good advice, right? But isn't it also where do we draw the line? Because if someone else has to withdraw, and like you said earlier on, that if you notice someone who's always withdrawn, who is avoiding public attention, who maybe even has a bit of agoraphobia or something, if you have been around people,
yes,
you may want to say, look, let's get a psychotherapist for you. But now Jude has been doing business deals, things are not working out, they've cut the power, he has sold one of his cars, he has only one, his wife is angry with him, and that end of year or class party is meant to be there. He goes away. Doesn't that make it worse if he still stays away?
Okay, that's why I established that you need to find out the energy in the room. If your classmates or those friends, they are sharing these successes, is not motivating you. It's rather predisposing you to feel bad that, look at my friends, they're making it, and it's the whole economic downturn is more on me. Do you understand? Then you need to create boundaries. I'm not saying stay away from people, right? But like, for instance, the scenario you created about, let's say, school, end of school stuff or old school association, most times some of these gatherings are for show-offs. Yes, there may be a charity activity done, but at the end of the day, if you check some of those WhatsApp groups and all, you'd see, are you married now? Do you drive now? Why are you asking, do you drive? Are you not happy that I'm alive first? So at the end of the day, you see people coming, you don't know if they even hired the cars or something, and then you're feeling so bad that everyone came with a G-Wagon and you're the only one who didn't come with an SUV, So what I'm saying is choose your circle. Of course, we need to have a mix. The wealthy, the big boys, the people who are also coming up. We need to have all of those people, but you also need to check the energy that they come with. If it's positive energy, good. But if it's an energy that is predisposing you to feeling bad that you do not have, then you need to create some boundaries. Do you understand? Because of course it's expected that your circle should help you grow. You too, you contribute. You may not have the wealth, but you may have wisdom, knowledge, or something to give. But if you discover that because of the economic downturn, all the conversations revolve around those who are doing well, and they want to also ask you, so how is it with you? Everyone knows that you're struggling. So such conversations may not be healthy for everyone. Okay. So that doesn't mean you should stay away from people, but look at the energy in the room. Are they contributing positively? Are they helping you grow? So you choose the people that have access to your space so that you can manage this downtime that everyone is going through. Just associate with people, but still be very observant about the vibes people are bringing on, so that you don't get discouraged. And sometimes we wonder, how do friends plan the death of their other friends, or assassinations or something? Sometimes this is envy, because this other friend is struggling, and every time the other one who is doing well is talking about the cars, the containers that have landed, not everybody has emotional intelligence to withhold such level of good news. And
so there are levels of news that you shouldn't share with everybody.
Of course, discretion is always important. We've heard of people who lost out on travel opportunities because of their friends and even family members. And all of these things are also rooted to what we call adverse childhood experiences. How does envy even start? How do we say this person is a mean person? It's traced to childhood. An adult who grew up in an environment as a child where everyone was quarreling, there was dissension, and maybe a polygamous family, there was always this quarreling. Your mom always had a neighbor that you people shouldn't play with or talk to. You're sowing a seed of envy in the life of that child. That's how people grow up, and we tag them, this envious person, this wicked person. Wickedness didn't just see them on the road and fall on them. Do you get? It came from the kind of environment they were exposed to. Instead of having more love, more unity, doing things together, they always knew a list of people their parents were not in terms with. They knew all their parents' enemies. They knew all the witches they shouldn't talk to. You're sowing a seed. That's why parents that are brilliant about parenting, even when they have a beef with their brother, who is their children's uncle, they do not let the children know. The children do not need to know. Of course, if for any reason you feel this uncle can harm the children, you intelligently know how to ensure that your children and hey, my children, Uncle Chuka is a bad man, he's evil.
But what they tell the children when they are 20 or 30?
Okay, I feel as adults, the children also have better capacity to manage that. Sometimes you could let the child know that from an experience I had with Uncle Chuka, I would love that you keep your distance. The child doesn't need to have that information, because it's a small world.